Story 1. I cannot even keep houseplants alive. I would be the worst person ever to be a parent, so I am glad I have no desire to be one. I hope my younger brother has children, though. He would be a good parent. Story 2. Parenthood is universally accepted as the most tiring experience on earth. It makes sense to accept that whoever you are at your most tired state is exactly the kind of parent you will be. Unfortunately for me, when I am tired, I find it hard to pay attention. I also retreat into myself. I know I love my kids, but I accept that realistically, I would not be a super attentive, fun, and positive parent no matter how hard I wish I was. Story 3. Oh my God. Not gonna lie, I think about this sometimes. I hope I would be a super chill parent, Like not too strict, but also a good listener. I would want to support my kids in whatever they are interested in. If my kid was into drawing, I would buy them all the art supplies and hang their artwork on the fridge. And of course, I would always be there for them no matter what. Story 4. The safe but silly parent is patient with clear boundaries and plenty of hugs. I apologize when I am wrong, teach consent and money basics, limit screen time, and make Saturday pancakes. Story 5. The kind that teaches their child emotional intelligence but still lets them eat cereal for dinner sometimes just for the vibes. Story 6. My fiancé thinks I will be a terrible parent but still wants to have children with me for some reason. Story 7. I think I would be the kind of parent who is very emotional and dramatic about everything, celebrating the small wins like a gold medal, crying at their school play, over-explaining life lessons, and secretly letting them eat cookies before dinner because life is short. Story 8. I would be involved, but my fuse would be short. I would be tired all the time, and I would be grumpy and emotionally detached. Also, incredibly poor. Which is why it is good I am not a parent. Story 9. Honestly, I was raised in a conservative Hispanic Catholic home, and I would want the same rules for my future children. I was never allowed to go to sleepovers or be out past dark. I did not have a phone until I was 17 and was gently reprimanded for swearing. My parents were loving but firm. Story 10. The parent who cheers at every little achievement and has an endless supply of hugs. Story 11. I'm about as maternal as a ham sandwich, so I am pretty sure I am just fine as an aunt, and I will only ever be a cat mom. Story 12. I would either be great or terrible. I am psychopathic. There is a genetic factor to that. If my child is like me in this regard, I would cherish them because I simply know how to. I would definitely take him hunting from an early age and familiarize him with weapons. I would want to see him smile as he guts something with me. I would know what he needs. I would teach him how to handle himself and how to channel certain desires he might have. I would want him to be happy, not afraid of the world or himself. I would tell him that no matter how much he wants to do something bad, he is in control. And I would tell him to talk to me about anything. I would just understand him. In my own way, I think I could love him. If they were ordinary, that is complicated. I do not see myself doing well with them. I do not see myself understanding them or relating to them. Chances are I would not want them. Story 13. I will be the cool uncle with motorcycles, guitars, and cars, but in a fatherly way. Story 14. A difficult one. Mental and physical health are poor at the best of times. I can barely function as an adult. Why would I want the added responsibility of a child to look after? I like being an aunt. They are 18 and 11 and a half now, so the dynamic has changed somewhat, but I loved spending time with my niece and nephew, spending money on them, and then giving them back at the end of the day. Overnight babysitting did not happen much. It was fun when it did, but 24/7 parenting is just not on my radar. I work with children and young people and, again, love my work, but I also need time to relax and process my day, which can be exhausting. I am almost certainly on the autism spectrum, so life seems twice as hard to navigate at times, and I cannot factor my own child into that as well. I would burn out faster than I already do. Thankfully, perimenopause is slowly taking parenthood off the table for me. Story 15. Not a good one, because I am sensitive to noise and have no patience. That is why I chose not to have children. Story 16. An absent one. If they have not told me about children before the vasectomy, I am not going to look at this point. Story 17. A good one, hopefully strict but only to protect my child, not for the sole purpose of having control. Story 18. The person who appears to have schizophrenia but is still a normal parent. Story 19. I could honestly see myself being a little too lenient. I would definitely be very doting and loving, and that partially makes me wonder if it would be hard for me to set firm rules and boundaries. I grew up with a lot of academic pressure, and I would not want my child to face it as severely as I did, so I imagine I would have a hard time finding a balance there. Story 20. Well, considering that I got a vasectomy when I was 24, I would be surprised. Story 21. I think I would be the type to celebrate small wins and remind my child that mistakes are just part of learning. Story 22. I'm the type to swear I'll never say because I said so, then immediately say it and feel a piece of my soul die. Story 23. I want to be nice and understanding. However, I have chronic illnesses, and I do not think I would be able to avoid snapping at them. Fortunately, I was able to get my tubes tied, so I do not need to worry about it. I do plan to foster children and potentially adopt when I retire, though. Hopefully, I will be better at managing my emotions by then. Story 24. Overbearing. I have extreme paranoia and would be worried all the time. It is probably not a good idea to have children. Story 25. If I were to imagine the kind of parent I would be, I think I would strive to strike a balance between being supportive and setting firm boundaries. I would want my children to feel safe exploring the world while also understanding the importance of rules. Perhaps I would be the parent who celebrates even the smallest achievements with enthusiasm, showering my children with endless hugs and love. However, I have to admit that my patience can be short, and I might be tired and grumpy at times. Despite this, I believe that I would do my best to be involved and attentive, even if I end up being a little emotionally detached. Who knows, maybe I will surprise myself and be a great parent after all. Story 26. I have thought about this from time to time and always end up thinking that I do not want to become one because I am afraid I might mess up. Story 27. I do not want children, but I would be a super cool, comprehensive, supportive mother. Story 28. A strict one. I am generally a very easygoing person right now, and all the people I know who are like this end up being strict. But not overly so, of course. If you want a child to succeed in life, you have to be strict. Story 29. I'm sure it depends. If I could somehow eliminate most of my personal worries and have plenty of money, I am sure I would be an okay dad. Having time for them and making sure that the child grows up well and goes to college to have a decent adulthood. But as it is, probably not very good. Constant stress makes me act like a jerk. Story 30. Terrible, which is why I am not. I also have hereditary issues that need to end with me. Story 31. A responsible parent, no doubt. I would raise my child without expecting anything in return from them. Story 32. I think about this all the time, what I would do differently from my parents. I would never yell, scream, belittle, tease, assume, or manipulate. I would never be passive-aggressive. I would set clear rules and structure. I would always help my children with whatever they need, but also teach them skills so they can help themselves. I would stay informed about what is going on with their school and other important matters, so they don't have to worry about reminding or telling me. I would never make them feel like a burden or make them deal with my problems. However, I don't think I should ever be a parent. I would be terrified every second of making mistakes that could hurt my children. Story 33. An absolute terrible parent who would hand off the child to a strict nanny for the first 7 years of their life. When the child no longer needed me to take care of their immediate needs, I would become a super demanding, abusive parent who expected the child to perform perfectly in school, learn and master several skills, and prepare to be a successful adult. I would be extremely disappointed if they did not grow up to be a skilled, healthy, attractive adult who fit perfectly into society, got into the best university that later led to a high-earning career, and eventually married a good partner. No, I do not like children, and no, I am obviously not having children. Story 34. Probably very bad. I'm guessing distant, dismissive, but with a hint of, let's toss a football around together, or let's go skate around and shoot some pucks. I'd probably try to mold a mini-me without even realizing it. Probably a lot like my dad, I guess. A good dad, always there if I really needed him, but always very detached for most of my life, teaching by doing and showing, with the onus on observation to learn and absorb. It took a very long time to earn any sort of respect for my knowledge and capabilities. Story 35. I think I would be the kind of parent who says, "We have food at home," but then secretly orders pizza because I am too tired to cook. The type who pretends to be strict about screen time but ends up watching cartoons with the kids until midnight. Story 36. I would be the type of parent who listens first and judges last. I want to have a son to teach him everything I know and can do. I want to listen to him and give him what my parents were unable to give me. I want to instill in him a desire for learning and creativity. Story 37. Overprotective one sounds horrible, but I worry a lot about everything. Now imagine my child. Story 38. Stressed, anxious, and tired, which is one of several reasons I do not want children. Story 39. I would be a horrible mother. I am petty, I have low patience, my diet is horrible, I cannot do math, I cannot cook, I hate bad smells, and small children annoy me in general. Story 40. I'm a parent with a 7-year-old son and a 5-year-old daughter, and I've become a parent different from what I used to think, except for a couple of things. 1. I'm strict about phone use. No phone unless allowed, and I don't care if they cry. 2. I'm strict about finances. I don't spoil my children with the latest toys or fashion. 3. I play with them. I wrestle with both of them on the bed, play kite flying, badminton, chess, and catch fish on the beach, all sorts of things. 4. I set up a daily routine. The best one is that everyone, including me and my wife, must share 5 daily happy moments before going to bed. The exceptions are only these 2, mainly because my wife convinced me. 1. Books. I used to think that buying books for kids was a waste of money. I changed because my wife convinced me otherwise. Now, I see that my son and daughter are the only ones without phones every time we go out. They are really happy if we bring them to the library or bookstore. This is the only thing I let them buy once a month with our money. 2. Homeschooling. I used to think they needed to go to school not only to learn but to socialize. But I realize small kids don't need to socialize much, and school is not the only place to do that. However, I send them to other activities like swimming and taekwondo. Story 41. A good experience, not a great one, but there are certain mistakes my parents made that I refuse to repeat unless absolutely necessary. Story 42. A horrible, angry one. I can barely keep myself alive. I often forget to eat, miss doses of daily medication, and skip doctor appointments because I would rather not go. It is fine when it is for me, but when it is for a child, it very quickly turns into child abuse. Also, repetitive noises make me feel rage. If the above did not bring us into child abuse territory, the noises certainly would. And that is why I got myself sterilized. Story 43. I thought I would be a stricter parent, but after having children, I realized it is important to let them make mistakes and enjoy what they love doing the most. Playing. Story 44. I will be a strict mother, but at the same time flexible and understanding depending on the situation. I will be their friend and companion because I love children. What is your opinion on the matter? Story 45. Probably the do my best but still make mistakes a lot kind of parent. I would love my child deeply, but I know I would need a lot of patience and coffee to survive. Story 46. Probably the we are having cereal for dinner, do not tell mom type. Story 47. Probably not a good one, to be honest. I have sleep and mood issues to begin with, and children seem to do nothing but exacerbate both, if my parents are to be believed. I used to teach kids ballet classes and was an assistant coach to the young children on my recreational swim team. Children are lovely when they are not your own. Story 48. A bad one. I am too easy on people. I do not believe most punishments work. One leads by example. I also read entirely too much. Story 49. Terrible. It is one reason why I never had children. Reason 2 is I hated being a child. I was violently bullied through ninth grade and would not wish that on anyone. Story 50. Probably the type who teaches my child how to swear properly before teaching them mathematics. Story 51. I think I will be a great parent. I have seen enough of what to do and what not to do. Story 52. I think about this often. It has always been important for me to support my children, to make them feel that in any situation, they have a person who will not judge but will support them. I do not want to be just a mentor parent who shows them the way. I am closer to the idea of being there for them, giving them the freedom to try and make mistakes while still being a safe place to come back to. Sometimes I think that is the most valuable thing we can give our children. The feeling that they are not alone in the world. Story 53. A combination of chill and strict. I want the person to be open to everything they do, but I also want them to respect me as their parent and know their boundaries. Story 54. I was afraid to become a parent. My father was very difficult about everything. I can never understand how people say their father was their best friend. It sounds unbelievable and nonsense to me. I was so afraid that it would happen to me with my child that I did not want to have kids. Now we are unable to have children, and I am relieved. Story 55. Hopefully the kind of parent who balances love with boundaries, the one my child knows they can always come to, but also the one who is not afraid to say no when it matters. Story 56. Hopefully a good one. When I have children, I plan on raising them to give respect to others and to always be curious about things. I will try not to give them my humor of dad jokes, memes, and 1980s references, but they are bound to end up with that humor eventually. I just want it to be where they are proud to have me as a dad, I guess. Story 57. I would probably be the goofy father, making silly puns at breakfast and sneaking candy into movie nights. Rules would exist but would be more like guidelines. I can already hear my future child's eye rolls. Story 58. Probably one of those relaxed but quietly overthinking types. I will be the parent who lets the child eat ice cream for dinner once in a while but also randomly shares deep life lessons at bedtime. Story 59. Probably the kind that tries really hard to be calm but overthinks everything after bedtime. Story 60. I'm having triplets in about 3 weeks. Check in to see if I have survived sleep deprivation before having me answer this. Story 61. Raised 5 girls and 2 boys. Kept the girls away from the poles and the boys off the streets. Now it is time for pickleball. Story 62. I am a parent. I have 3 children and 3 grandchildren. My oldest daughter earned her master's degree in business. My son is working on his master's degree in business. My youngest daughter works as an exotic dancer and sex worker. Story 63. I would probably be the laid-back but supportive type, letting my children explore who they are while always being their safe place. Story 64. I would be a super supportive but somewhat chaotic parent, cheering loudest at games, carrying snacks and a first aid kit, teaching my children to question everything and stay curious. I would probably forget permission slips and mix up pickup times. I am not strict, more about guiding through mistakes so they always feel safe talking to me. Story 65. Everyone has a plan until they are punched in the face. Story 66. Break parenting patterns and establish new parenting approaches. Story 67. I think I would be a supportive and understanding parent who sets clear boundaries. Story 68. I would be a great parent. I would make sure all my children had the best childhood possible and support everything they want to do. I do not believe in taking advice from so-called perfect parents. People who have damaged their children's lives will never be successful, and they want to help you fail by giving you their worthless parental advice. I have no issue setting limits and consequences. Religious fanatics are not welcome at my door looking for new victims to ruin lives or possibly turn into criminals. My children will learn how to take care of themselves, their rooms, and their belongings. They will learn how to make repairs and build. I believe in high technology and would encourage them to pursue that path and be visionary. They will look beyond today to tomorrow, aiming to change the world. They will be the change. This is my second time as a parent. My first child, my daughter, turned out great. She is a doctor married to a lawyer. I have my bases covered in health and legal matters. Not bad for dear old dad. Story 69. A lovable and understanding husband and father to my future family one day. Story 70. A terrible one. I would not be strict enough, or I would be strict in the wrong ways. While I would try my best to teach the child to be kind and respectful of others, demanding the same from them, I realize I often struggle with that myself. Story 71. I think I would be a patient parent. However, I had a rough childhood and I do not have strong parental instincts, so I worry I would not know how to raise children properly. Story 72. I would be the parent working overtime just to put food on the table and roofs over our heads. But I would probably be out of touch with my family because I am working so much. I am not saying this is a good thing, but it is what I am familiar with. My parents were the same, always working. They tried to instill in me that if I have a problem with anything or anyone, working overtime is always the answer. Story 73. I would respect my children and treat them the way I wish my parents had treated me. Story 74. A very understanding, loving, and supportive person with high ideals and expectations. I will be strict with my children but also give them room to breathe. I have strong beliefs and expect my children to adhere to them, but my beliefs are liberal and based on common sense. I will not allow my daughters to wear overly revealing clothes, nor will I allow my son or daughter to date people I do not approve of or use drugs. If they choose to do so, they will need to live independently and not rely on their mother financially. Story 75. A terrible one. I do not like children, babies, kids, teenagers, or young adults. Story 76. Oh, I think I would be a wonderful parent because every time my parents make mistakes, I say to myself how I would never do this for my child. I promise myself each time not to repeat this trauma. Plus, my daughter was very restricted, so I decided that each time my baby girl will do all she wants, wear whatever she wants, with her mother right there supporting her. Story 77. The cycle of abuse would have only repeated. So, no children. It ends with me. This world is not good enough for them anyway. Story 78. As someone whose partner is having second thoughts about the child situation, I absolutely hate the thought of being a parent. Story 79. I hope someday I can be as insightful and patient as Atticus Finch. In reality, I will probably be like my father. Cold, but well-meaning. Struggles with expressing emotions. Very critical. Story 80. Probably the one that I am. My daughter loves me so much she tries to drag me back inside when I am leaving for work. Story 81. I feel I would be a wonderful parent because I have been through so much. The most important rule in life is to never make impulsive decisions. Story 82. Strictly, I would try to teach as much as I can. I like to think I would be fair by remembering I once was a kid as well. I would annoy him or her so much, joking all the time. These are things that would never happen in real life. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.